everyone. So we're going to be doing Blue Deck Med. So I know we didn't do one for last week. Kind of wish I did now, but anyways, that is okay because we're going to do both these episodes together. So kind of anything that happened last week is kind of the following. So Natalia and Toomey are still fighting. Apparently someone made the comment about the other or some shit, and yeah, they're not fully okay. But it is what it is, right? Same shit, different day. So there's that with them, and then we have some drama between Kyle and Jessica because Jessica went to Toomey saying that Kyle kind of came across as of thinking she's too green to be on service, and that completely started a rage war between Kyle and, well, mostly Kyle. Jessica just kind of took it, and he kind of was like, you went to do me and you said shit about me, and like he just goes off, typical Kyle fashion. And yeah, so Jessica is upset about that, and we'll get more into this episode, but yeah, she's upset about that. And then there is the drama with Natalia and her boyfriend. He admits to her that he did have sex with somebody, and she kind of loses it, so we'll leave that alone for a second. We'll leave that there. We see that Sandy fell down while helping Luca with I think it was a kayak. So we had a little bit of an issue there. We'll come back to that. And we also have an all-women charter. This particular, end of last episode into this episode, that Captain Sandy has said, be on your best behavior to the straight men on this boat. And we're going to quickly figure out how lines are being crossed. So that's the rundown of this episode. Now, these guests are fucking crazy. There's one particular guest who, I don't know if she's the primary, I can't remember, but she's so tiny and so just parties here that it reminded me of Nicole Snooki from Jersey Shore. So, yeah. At one point, we actually see them inappropriately being taken around the crew mess, as well as like Max's room. And I'm thinking, this is so inappropriate. And he also has like a book about sex. And I guess to achieve the best sexual experience, kind of like the book that Alex was reading on Below Deck Sailing on. So, yeah. Kind of probably the same bullshit. But anyways, that it was so inappropriate. But anyways, let's just tackle through Sandy very quickly. She ends up leaving the boat because she feels that something is wrong with her arm. She comes with her wrist. She comes back and she basically says, yep, it's a fracture. But she can still drive the boat, and she will be wearing it looked like a brace. She'll be wearing it for 5 weeks. So, yeah, that's basically it. Luca was shitting a brick because he's like, I injured the captain, so, but all's fine in the world. And, yeah, we kind of see Natalia is still kind of bitter in her shit when it comes to Toomey, but not as bad as past situations. And she says that she has bigger fish to fry, and that is her boyfriend. So she kind of just, lets that go. But Jessica, we'll say now, we'll kind of go with Kyle and Jessica. Jessica's kind of confused as to why he's getting so mad. And when she attempts to talk to him at one point, he legit snaps at her and says, like, I'm English speaking, you're English speaking, like, trying to kind of undermine her a little bit, but I'm just, it was not great. And she basically like walks outside crying to Toomey and like crying, because of what he said, which I get it, it was kind of mean, but it ends up being decided by Toomey that, she's gonna go on service, Jessica with her. Kyle's gonna go on housekeeping. And she does speak to Kyle and kind of in not so many words actually, but kind of says like that it's not okay. You can't talk to anyone that way. So yeah, there's kind of that resolve for now. But she's like, let's just do it this way until tomorrow, and then we can deal with this. So that's probably the best situation. So yeah, that's kind of that. We kind of see at one point Natalia is texting her boyfriend, kind of saying that, it hurt her that he had sex with this other woman, but she loves him. And I'm like, why? I got like, you love him, but you're in a relationship or the type of relationship that isn't serving you and isn't making you happy, and you are struggling with the thought and the idea of being in an open relationship, and it goes against your morals. So why are you with him? I don't, I, I have no issue if you want to be in an open relationship with your partner, as long as each party agrees to doing it, agrees to whatever terms. You have to have set rules in place, and I feel like there are none. If there are no set rules in place, and this guy's able to be all willy-nilly with his willy, and she's being told she can't even fucking kiss Luca. It's a double fucking standard, and it's I need explanations as to why she's with him. Is he hot? Does he have a big dick? Like, what's happening? Because I feel like it's not worth it. He can't treat her that well. Does she want to stick with him? That's basically how I feel, because from what I'm seeing, he's not treating her all that well. So, but anyways, there's that nonsense. And I've had kind of a revelation, actually, because there was this big thing about Natasha having her ex-boyfriend, and then there was the situation with the chef and all of that, but her boyfriend mainly, and the fact that she was texting him all the time, and he seemed to really take up a lot of her time when it came to the relationship, not just the texting, but mentally as well. And we kind of see, not to that extent, but we're seeing the same similar thing happening with Natalia, where it's like, it's really seeming to consume her. She's wanting to leave, whatever. And it clearly is consuming her. And I'm just like, so why are you wasting time with this fucker who is literally fucking anything that has a vagina? Like, she deserves better than this. That's what I'm gonna say. So, yeah, I think that's basically it for that. Okay, so then we kind of move on to, there's actually quite a bit of different things happening in this episode. So, kind of the next thing that kind of is pretty significant. I mean, Sheffy decides that it's a good idea to take a shot with the guests after Sandy said, like, don't get, like, too involved with these guys. obviously keep your level of professionalism and don't do anything you shouldn't do. So he takes a shot, and Toomey sees him do it, obviously. But Toomey says, like, you might need to talk to her about it, like Sandy about it, because she's going to find out that you did it. So it's better you tell her than somebody else potentially tell her. And I did think, like, why tell her anything? But he does actually end up saying to Luca, I think the last day of the charter, that he took a shot with them, and he is thinking about telling Sandy, and Luca said that's probably a good idea. So I guess it's a good idea to do it, whatever. But Sandy, we'll just kind of finish up with that, but Sandy kind of takes it well, and she, Miss Jokester this episode, basically says that, pack your shit. No, I'm kidding. So, like, that's basically, like, going, holy shit. But, yeah. So he's fine. She basically says, like, just don't do it again. And, that's kind of that. I mean, obviously he's not gonna fire the chef. The chef is so valuable on this ship, like, yeah, no. So, yeah, that's kind of it with him. So, yeah, the charter goes off, finishes off. It's all fine and good. He got 20,000 in tip, so that's great. Anyway, moving on to the next joke that Sandy gives, which again, I'm like, what's going on with her today? But basically, she says, you guys have so well that I actually decided to take on another charter. It's going to be a 24-hour turnaround. And she's like, nah, I'm joking. Jesus. Anyway, they all get ready to go, but before they do that, Kyle and Jessica end up having a conversation. Now, here's something else I missed, because again, as I go through things will come back to me. This episode was so loaded, but there was a situation during the final night of the charter where Kyle had an anxiety attack or some sort of panic attack or something happening, kind of mixed in with the fact that he didn't eat very well that day. He just had a really serious moment. So he ended up deciding that, listen, I can't take on other people's shit, because he kind of was saying during the moment that, like, I'm dealing with so much different shit, people have their problems. Natalia and her boyfriend, that's the main thing, especially because they share a room together. So that's the main thing for him. So he ends up going into his room and saying, or sending a group text, basically saying, I am not going to take on other people's problems anymore. Y'all fucking figure it out. And also in that same message, it's kind of thanks to me and Natalia for kind of stepping up. Now, the next day, Natalia brings the text message to the attention of Jessica by kind of saying, like, oh, the first part was really great, but that last part, it feels like it's kind of directed at you. And she's like, just like, what the fuck? She's thinking this is directed at her, so she's kind of in her mind about that. And then when she talks to Toomey about it, Toomey says, no, this has nothing to do with you. She's like, maybe you didn't realize, but he had an anxiety attack last night, and he had mentioned that he doesn't want to take on other people's drama, in particular Natalia's drama with her boyfriend. It has nothing to do with you. Now this gets back to Kyle that Natalia said this thing. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not at all. Like, he does kind of say to Natalia, I don't give a shit how she interprets it. But then when he talks to Toomey, he's like, okay, now I see the problem. So he ends up deciding, okay, he's going to talk to Jessica, and they do one-on-one, no one else around, and they clear the air. They really did clear the air, so it was great. But he says, listen, clearly the common denominator in all of this situation is Natalia, because she thrives in this. And I'll get to more of that in a minute, but she really seems to thrive on this. And he says, like, this is how she's always been. She's messy and can be, I don't want to say aggressive. I hate using that word towards women, but I don't even want to say aggressive. I'm just going to say manipulative, underhanded, to even a degree that I feel like she's fully aware of it, but at the same time, it's like she's not. It's this weird thing that she has. So yeah, it didn't, they kind of realized that maybe it's her. So let's just like keep our distance from kind of thing, and especially us, Jessica. So yeah, they say their piece, it's fine. So they get ready and they're going out. But they're not going too far, guys. They're going literally across the street from the boat. So you kind of see that Natalia's kind of putting two and two together here, because she's kind of seeing that, number one, Luca seems to really be focusing on Jessica. And you kind of saw that happening, kind of this organic thing happening between the two of them. And you can see on Natalia's face that she is jealous of the fact that Luca is giving anyone else, it's nothing to do with Jessica, anyone else attention. When it's like, okay, ma'am, you literally said like earlier in the day or even yesterday that you're not going to get involved with anybody else. You're going to focus on your relationship. So which is it? But anyway, she's getting all up in her head about that. Then the other thing that we kind of see happening is that Toomey, Jessica, Kyle really seem to be getting along really well. And Natalia is kind of seeing this and she's like, what the fuck? Like, again, having this weird thing where she can see that her friends or our friend is getting along with one person who maybe she is friends with or not, and then the other one that she's kind of at this point kind of a frenemy with. I don't even know. So she kind of see her mind is just like, what the fuck? And again, this is the part I'm going to say that I feel like this person, Natalia, really seems to thrive on the drama in and around her. She's in a relationship with a man who I think, in all honesty, is not the type of relationship she would normally be in. It kind of seems to go against her moral, which is totally okay. And she still stays in it because it creates this drama that she needs to thrive off of. You find out that he's had sex with somebody that seemed to destroy you in the moment, but the next day you're literally texting him saying, I love you. What? Like, are you kidding? I get mad at my boyfriend over something not nearly as bad as that, and it takes me a minute, a lot longer than the next morning, to be like, okay, I'm good now. Like, no. So, yeah, I'm just like, what the hell? So there's that. And then you kind of see this dynamic she's creating on the boat with the interior, where she's like trying to pit Toomey against Kyle, or Kyle against Toomey, and Jessica against Toomey, and Toomey against Jessica, and so on and so forth. That's the kind of thing she's creating. And the fact that it's not working, and people are, despite all of that, continuing to be friends with each other, it pisses her off, and she needs it. She needs that drama. She had her perfect environment on the last boat with Natasha, with that dude, and then it was also Kyle. It was so, kind of sometimes volatile towards her. But then you also had the aspect of it that Natasha and Kyle really clicked, which made Natalia feel very left out. So then you see on this boat, you see that kind of happening again. But then because she's literally sulking at this point on her phone, texting her boyfriend. Luke is beside her and he asks if she wants a drink, completely ignores him. He asks again and she says, no, thank you. And then she says, okay, I'm gonna go. I might meet you guys at the next bar. And she leaves and calls her boyfriend and says that she's had a bad week. And she's like on her bed crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? You're crying because literally your department is getting along. Wouldn't you rather work in a toxic free environment? Because I know I do. So I don't understand her at all. I really liked her last season, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so there's kind of that kind of happening, and you see that like that's brewing. We're gonna come back to her. So then, well, her and Kyle. So then we go to the next bar. We've invited the charter guests to this, and someone's always kissing somebody because the last couple of times we've seen this happen, we had Culver kissing a girl who pissed off the chick that he was supposed to go van lifing with. And then you had Kyle kissing that guy, which obviously, so it doesn't always seem to go good. But anyways, we're inviting these charter guests to go out. And Max seems to really be vibing really well with one of the girls. I can't remember her name now. Is it Lita? Or I can't remember her name. But anyways, he and her, like, they end up kissing and making out. So he's kind of connected with her. And then we also see Laura is connecting with everybody else. My girl kissed about every single person who was on that charter. And then some. So, yeah, it was fun to see, whatever. Anyway, so then we're done with that. We head back to the boat. And we're just, I'm not even sure how the conversation came up, but we started talking about LGBT plus community, and it was Kyle who's talking about it. And for some fucking reason, Max decides to say it should be LGBTS, and Kyle's like, well, what's the S supposed to be? And he says straight. No. Okay, listen, as a straight person myself, I would never, ever fucking think to insert my straight privilege into an LGBTQ plus community. I would never think to do that. Are you kidding me? Like, no. I'm gonna get to how disgusting this is in a second. Max says, well, why not? We're talking about being equals and stuff like that. So, why can't the S be included in LGBT plus community? I'm going to tell you why. I've learned a lot by listening to other podcasters, especially podcasters that are queer, we'll say that. And I've learned so much from what this community has had to deal with to even be able to live their life normally in a normal society and it not be a fucking problem. The people of this community who have paved the way in order that you couldn't even go to an establishment with other queer people and just be yourself and find someone if that's what you wanted. or just have fun with like-minded people or people that you're comfortable with because you all share, if not the same, similar things. I don't know what else to say, but like, hopefully I'm coming across properly here, but I'm just like, you, as a straight people, we can live our lives and go to an establishment and not worry if some psycho is going to come and hurt people in that establishment because of their differences to the quote unquote rest of the world. You know what I mean? And for this fucker to literally argue with a gay man on how it should be us included, your ignorance is ridiculous. Your stupidity is beyond. And your privilege, not even so much privilege, I don't want to say privilege, but the audacity of this bitch to think that you can be included into something that is not meant for you. Every day, every aspect of our lives as straight people is right there at our fingertips, to kind of put it in that sense. So let this community have something for themselves, because they didn't always have that. They couldn't live their lives and just be happy. Just be like everyone else, you know? I'm just so floored by this guy. And I mean, I know he's apparently 23. Didn't know he was that young, but it's still like, that's not an excuse. Because my brother, who is younger, not by much, but younger than him, knows better than this fucker. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What the hell is this? It was ridiculous to me. And Kyle again put it great, and still he wasn't fucking understanding it. But he says, you cannot be included in my community because you are not queer at the very least. You know, you are a straight man, so you can't be included in this. You can be an ally, and that's greatly appreciated, but you cannot be a part of it because you're not. So, like, it was beyond me. But then Natalia kind of comes in and she says, I guess trying to defend Max, which is weird, but she kind of comes in trying to defend him, and she says, well, like, Max, would you be comfortable Eiffel Towering some, like, or whatever? And first of all, my mom wanted to know what that was, and I said, I'm not answering the question. But I'm just like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? LGBTQ plus is not just about who you go to bed with at night. It's so much more than that. So I was just like, I didn't quite understand her, but she says, well, look, he's bi-curious. I don't know if curiosity allows you to be in this circle or something. I hate to put that, but like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's it, but like, being bi-curious and actually being bisexual isn't quite the same thing. And just because if maybe you're curious doesn't mean you then decide you're going to be bisexual or gay or whatever. So it's just like, I didn't quite understand her argument here, but then she says that and she thinks, well, that's enough for him to be a part of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't know. But she's like, no, see, like, you know, and she's trying to diffuse the situation, but then Kyle laces into her and says, like, You're fucking messy. Before you try to deal with other people's problems, deal with your own fucking problems. You have a fucking relationship that you're miserable in. So why the fuck are you going to try and deal with everything else around you that you don't need to be dealing with? As he put earlier in the episode, Natalia, stay in your fucking lane. And that's how the episode ends. And I think Natalia could easily leave because of this. I think she is literally one step out the door. And I don't know if I'm sad about it because she's been nothing but a mess. Oh, and Sheffy was also defending Natalia because he's like, well, she doesn't know to me. She doesn't know to me. And he's like, Cal's like, wait for it. She's gonna stab you in the back too. When she's done with everybody else. So I think he is a little naive because he has problems. She has problems with Kyle. She has problems with Jessica. She has problems with Toomey. She kind of has weird issues with Luca because of her indecisiveness. But she has problems with people. So you're probably next on the list, but we'll see. But anyways, that is the end of Below Deck for, this week. And we did briefly last week as well. So, yeah, we keep these short as always. So, if you want to connect with us, you can do so by connecting with us on Facebook at Reality Tea Times 2, Instagram and Threads at Reality Tea Times 2 Podcast, X at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod as well. And you can email us at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Don't forget, you can also rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we are going to start reading those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. And you can also just make sure so you don't miss a single episode, you can subscribe or follow the podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps. But I think that is it for now. Thanks, guys. Bye.